we can move on to greener and brighter pastures. We need fruitful dirt if you're going to grow babies in cabbage. So for our next topic, how else could you best service growing Cabbage Patch babies than human composting? Yep, it's something that's already going on in states across our country. I believe 13 of them. But now Ohio, it's hitting home. We've got representatives that want to bring this into the mainstream. We need human composting. Like I said, what better way to grow your babies?
Going green.
Now in Ohio, the only way you can dispose of
Ohio again.
is by burial or cremation. But there's some people in the Senate who are saying, you know what, we want to allow another way, human composting after death. In recent years, natural or green burials without a casket have tripled for economic and environmental reasons. In composting, the body is laid in a metal bin and surrounded by plant materials like wood chips, mulch, and wildflowers. Heat and oxygen are added, and in about a month, the body becomes decomposed soil. The Catholic Conference of Ohio says they are against Senate Bill 323 because of how the remains are handled without a sacred place for prayer and remembrance. But the process is already legal in 14 states.
14
However, there
states?
are restrictions because whatever the person experienced in life is still in the soil. And supporters here say they are hoping there would be similar limitations.
If somebody is going through normal cancer treatments with chemotherapy, or if they're a regular drug user, the composting that, those radioactive elements or toxic elements could be found and could also get into, somebody decided to put it in a park or in a public area. Just
human remains in a park?
Of the people in our community.
This guy. The main reason I wanted to include this report more than anything is because there is an additional consideration here. Like, there's two sides to this coin. One, the libertarian view is like, hey, let people you should be able to live and die as you believe, right? Like, if you believe you can be put in a casket or you need to be with the earth, whatever. Some people get cremated. Everybody's got their own kind of philosophy. The Viking way out of just like torching someone, who knows? Everybody's got a different way that resonates with them. And the most free country would let people do it as their heart guides them. So I have a resilience to denying people like the burial that let's be real. The first century of people being buried, most of them probably weren't even in a wrap, let alone at most are in a bed sheet. And, somebody that was in America in 1820, that person wasn't in a fiberglass $1 million casket.
Wasn't Edgar Allan Poe famously buried in a mass burial site because he was penniless?
No way. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. Honestly, I don't know the details.
One of the great modern poets considered today. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was on the side of a road or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So again, that's not that far away.
Oh.
So, okay, it's one of those let people be people. But this guy raises another good consideration where it's like our bodies have become so toxic. You're full of plastic and bad chemicals and everything else that you're also risking severely polluting the earth too. So we don't want to live in a world where we're getting the pollutants, but also, our soil's kind of totally consumed by this. So there's a safety or social concern, but also we want the government drawing lines and intervening in our liberty as little as possible. So I'm torn. I don't know. What do you think?
Okay. I'm with you. I'm torn on this. I guess my defense for letting them do it is we have Bill Gates putting how much stuff into the air, screwing with vegetation and soil to begin with. People want to dispose of it in a respectful manner of their loved ones in a respectful manner. It's hard for me to kind of push against it, considering we are the free country that we supposedly are. I guess then there's the other half of me that's I don't want to see my neighbors burying their family in a funeral pyre 100 yards from my house. So I guess there's kind of that aspect to it. So I guess it's a sticky wicket. So I don't know. Yeah, it's a good question.
Well, and that question's coming into Ohio, and we're not voting on it. Our representatives are going to tell us what it's going to be. But it's not the majority of the country, but I still think 13 states is getting to a significant number. It'll be interesting to see, but I don't see a better soil than human compost to grow your Cabbage Patch Kids. So we can look forward to that coming in Ohio.
Can I ask you a question real quick? Are you more? Well, I know the answer. I just want to pose the question regardless. Are you more concerned about the way people are handling their compost, or Bill Gates messing with everything in terms of, the soil, the vegetation, the food, all that? Like,
well, I mean, it's an interesting question. The fact that the current president and administration want to federally protect glyphosate, we're consuming poisons en masse, and it is funny. It's like, well, the human body's poisonous. Why? Because you're eating the foods we're growing. It's like, well, okay, well, then I'm really not worried about polluting those foods any further. If anything, the Roundup in my decomposing tissue is the same Roundup that you need to put on your veggies, and it's probably saving you some Monsanto pennies. I don't know. The whole thing's gross. It's really where I'm at. You can't eat your fruits anymore, and you can't eat.
and here's another thing too. I guess another fear, which I just now thought of, regarding people disposing of their loved ones in whichever way they choose to, is it out of respect, or is it because, it's not cheap?
What do you mean?
Like to have like your traditional funeral and then disposing of the body, like that's not cheap. You get what I mean? Like,
well, and
you see some people just disposing of certain loved ones because they didn't much care for them. Because
fascinating point, Will. I mean, it is funny how much of a scheme dying has become. Like you pass and your estate gets clubbed for thousands of dollars,
right?
And people are going to opt into this just for money's sakes. And part of the reason they're able to get away with charging so much is you've got people at a desperate moment of grief, and then you also have a monopoly on the industry. If the entire industry's charging 300 times for this casket, then you get away with charging 300 times for your casket. But if the people could suddenly escape that cost and go, nah, Nana's going in her PJs and nothing else.
Yeah.
That's gonna shake up the industry a bit. Like there is a capitalistic side to this that I could get excited about.
Like I just Googled it. What's the average cost of a casket? And it says anywhere between $850 to $5,000.
That is funny.
Or you just do a funeral pyre in the backyard.
Hey, just Vikings sail them off into Lake Erie. Adios.
So, is there certain parks specifically like, all right, this is the dead park. This is the burial park over here.
Burial place,
Well, it's interesting you ask that, because our buddy Steve Z that we grew up with, Will, his family's house is in like where we grew up. Will and I, it's in Old Brecksville. So there's like, the center of town and everything else, but his family's house is over in like Old Brecksville. And when we would go deep in his backyard, there was a cemetery that like the names on the stones, like old, like from again, 1890, when they developed Brecksville, and you have the names, and it's like, oh my God, that's literally the street you're on, dude.
Yeah. And
it's one of those, like, it's always kind of been that way. And back in the day, what's your family burial? You just kind of put them in your backyard. Right. The reality is it's tough to do when you live in the projects of Cleveland.
Yes.
You've got a whole apartment, you're leasing it. You can't really put them in the parking lot. But
that's what I'm saying. Like
it is an interesting consideration for folks that own property. As it stands, there's a lot of laws limiting your ability to just do that.
Well,
but maybe we should get looser then if we're going to let people just going raw.
I put up a tent
Raw
last year
dog in the
for
ground,
someone.
baby.
Just take an old shovel out back.
Well, I put up a was it last? I think it was last year or a year before. I put up a tent for someone that buried their family in their backyard over here.
You put up a
Yep.
tent?
Yeah, because they had the whole ceremony in the backyard and burying
yeah,
them and
memorial.
stuff. Yeah, they had the whole memorial and stuff. I didn't want to go back there.
I mean,
I
so again, you can do it. It's
And
just
my grandparents
some
are buried
paperwork.
in their yard, in their countries in Jamaica, like in the country of Jamaica. Like we have family buried in the yards, but like,
Hey, you know, this might be
just
shocking
leave
to
in
you,
there.
but some countries do have a little bit more freedom than us.
And well, Alex, too, it's funny then you bring up like the idea of, again, people in the projects, like what about for all of them? And there was an entire plot line in The Wire regarding that. Like, I'm not even joking. Like a television show really like touched on what they kind of how they use like old abandoned buildings as like burial sites for them. It was like really messed
Wow.
up, but it like kind of, yeah.
And well, you know, that's more of like that's a good consideration, but it
I'm
is
just bringing
more
it up 'cause you brought that up.
apocalyptic, like having abandoned buildings and you're building your own Chaz zones. But like, I just mean when you're not a property owner with like a grass yard and you're sharing like an apartment complex, you know, even okay, so let's just take maybe you live in Chicago and you own a $1.2 million condo and you're on the 17th floor. It's like, well, you're still not getting this as an option.
Yeah.
No, you cannot put a flower pot the size of your old boyfriend.
But it adds to the decor.
It adds to the decor. So hey,
I just want them to just name the areas. I don't do walking over the dead and stepping on graves and walking over dead people and stuff like. I just need to know the area so I can stay away from it. And people already donate their bodies to science and be buried in the forest and stuff like that for science. So
sinking sand suddenly comes back into relevancy and people are just sinking every time they step on. Oh no, they buried Fred over here.
you know, paperwork. It's like everything is electric. So what the computers crash, okay, for this department, and they like 5 years later about to make a new part and digging up nothing but bones right here because they forgot like I ain't gonna. I don't like it.
No, dude, you're not putting your hippie hat on tight enough. The bones are going to incinerate. You know, they'll decompose. You're going back to the earth. It's going to take some time, but you know, you won't even be a fossil.
You know what? We're just gonna do it like How High style. We're gonna blend the bones.
Dude, think about it like this. You could be oil sold by future Iranians. You just get buried in the ground. And like the dinosaurs, as we're taught, that'll be you. And you'll just be in the back of an engine. Hey, so maybe compost yourself. I don't know. That's up to you. I might abstain. But hey, this is America. It's freedom. You can do whatever you want.
Getting happier, I swear.
Happier, I promise. I promise. Who's ready to get really thrilled and happy?